Check is proudly brought to you by First Capital Bank. Belief comes first.
Yes, this is brought to you by First Capital Bank. Belief comes first, and this is the Health Check with Dr. Baggett and myself, Zizwe Mavuma, on the House of Zoo. And today we discuss the importance of breath. Good morning, Dr. B.
Good morning. That was a huge breath you took.
Yes, I know the whole thing of breathing through your nose and to your mouth. You know, got to fill up the lungs and the brain. How are you this morning, Dr. B?
Good. Well, today we've got some strange questions because people really are asking, why are we talking about breath? Everybody knows we have to breathe. And, I think people don't appreciate, your breath brings oxygen into your body so you can thrive. And when you're physically or emotionally stressed,
Yes.
it really affects how you breathe. And what we're going to talk about today is breath work, because breath work it really helps to calm your stress and bring balance to your body. So what does all this mean? Well, everybody knows that they should be breathing in and out, and you don't actually have to really focus on your breath, because if you didn't breathe, you would be dead anyway. But
yeah, of course.
It's the type of breathing that we've all unfortunately become accustomed to, which we know is causing a state of dis-ease. And you just have to look at somebody, for example, reading an email. They actually stop breathing when they're reading an email, because we call it email apnea, which means you forget how to breathe because you're so focused on your email or your laptop. You actually forget to take a deep breath in. It's a bit like people staring at a computer; they forget to blink,
Yeah.
and they get computer eye strain. And this is the problem is our lungs and our diaphragm were not designed to sit and stare at an email and break it up. And also, you and I know, everybody knows that when you're stressed, you tend to breathe more rapidly. And you're not breathing. The classic healthiest way to breathe, besides breathing through the nose, and we'll talk about why nose breathing is important, is to breathe like babies breathe. If you watch a baby breathe, it breathes right from its tummy all the way through and takes a deep breath in. So it's actually called abdominal breathing, where you're breathing from the diaphragm, and then you breathe and you take a huge breath in. And if you want to know how you're breathing, you simply have to put your hands on the upper part of your chest and see which part of your hands move. If your hands are only moving when the upper part is moving, it means you're just doing very narrow, shallow breaths, and you're not expanding those lungs. And those lungs in the bottom portions of your chest begin to accumulate carbon dioxide. They begin to become disused, and you forget how to breathe. And this is what we see in a lot of people that are stressed, a lot of executives, and a lack of oxygen causes headaches, it causes fatigue, it causes muscle cramp, because you're not getting oxygen into the system. And that's why now breath work is a very trendy subject, but it's not new, Zoo. People have been practicing breath work for thousands of years, and
Yes.
it has its roots in yoga, which is an ancient system of exercise and meditation originating from India. And in India, they call the breath prana, which basically means
Yes. Yeah.
it's the magic that actually invigorates the system. And the idea of breathwork is to release the toxins and stress when you breathe out, and to nourish your mind and body when you breathe in. And we know as doctors, there are huge benefits of breathwork, and the research is really promising. It has potential benefits in reducing the acidity in your blood. It produces an anti-inflammatory effect. We all know during COVID, we actually had to teach people how to breathe in terms of COVID, because COVID has affected the breathing mechanisms. It elevates your mood. It has a positive impact on your central nervous system. And basically, what happens, Zoo, is if you take a huge breath in, what you're doing when you breathe with your diaphragm is you're activating a part of the nervous system called the parasympathetic nervous system. Now, this is the part of the nervous system that actually slows things down. It chills you out.
Okay.
It's the reason why, a mom will tell her child, just take some slow, deep breaths. Or before you go on stage, people say take huge, big breaths in. Because what you're doing is you're slowing everything down. You're slowing your heart rate. You're dropping your blood pressure. You're chilling out your muscles. And that's the parasympathetic nervous system. And if you do it on a regular basis, you can actually learn to control your heart rate very, very easily. We use this, Zoo, in people who have electrical abnormalities of the heart, where the heart just suddenly spontaneously goes into rapid fire, 120, 130 beats per minute. And what we do with the patients in the hospital is we tell them, take a huge breath in and hold it for as long as you can. And what that does is it activates the parasympathetic nervous system. And Bob's your uncle, the heart just suddenly snaps back into a regular rhythm. So we know from a medical perspective that deep abdominal breathing really chills out the system and helps the body to relax. So this is very important in terms of breath work. And a couple of simple ones before we go into some questions is what's called a 4-7-8 breath, and this is the most common one we teach, or psychotherapists teach in psychology consultations, where basically this technique adds in counting beats as you breathe in. You breathe in for 4 seconds.
Yeah.
You hold it for 7 seconds, and you breathe all the way out and exhaling up to 8 seconds. And what this does is it completely empties your lungs and it re-energizes your system, because you're basically washing out all the carbon dioxide in your system. So it's called a 4-7-8 breath. Take a big breath in for 4 seconds, hold it for 7 seconds, and breathe out for 8 seconds. You keep doing that for 3 or 4 times, you'll just find it's absolutely amazing.
Yes. I mean, I was going to make a comment on the prana because it does. They talk about how when you breathe in from, like you're saying, your diaphragm, it's able to open up a lot. And I have been practicing a lot of that, and it keeps you focused, and it keeps you, keeps you less sick. When was the last time I went to the doctor? So yes, I definitely agree with you 4% that air and breathing. And also I wanted to say there's the Rastafarian group called the Brethren that actually do that. So it's a practice that most of us here in this country don't even know about.
It's ancient, and it's been practiced by the Aborigines, by the Chinese,
yes.
by the Indians, and I think in parts of North Africa as well. So, by activating your parasympathetic nervous system, you just slow your heart rate down, you lower your blood pressure, creating a deep feeling of calm and reducing your overall stress and anxiety. And we now know that breath positively affects the nervous system, and it actually goes beyond the nervous system by changing brain waves. Now, there are neuroscientists actually showing that as you take these deep breaths in the 4-7, the 4-8 technique, or even what's called alternate nostril breathing, where actually you close one nostril, take a huge breath in, and then block that nostril from which you were breathing in and open the other nostril, and you keep doing that alternate, you actually seem to change brainwave patterns from a beta wave pattern, which is most of us spend our days in what's called beta wave, where we're attentive, we're thinking, we're making decisions, we're stressing, we're tense, to what are called gamma waves, which is a heightened sense of perception, alpha waves, which is when you're relaxed and chilled and reflective. So certainly doing nostril breathing has been found to actually change brainwave systems. So this is a really important part of research going on. There are people that have now looked at breathing with COVID, and it appears that certain types of breathing exercise actually boost your immune system.
Yes.
Giving you a better night's sleep, draining some of the toxins in your system. And of course, as you said, it gives you awareness and a sense of happiness and joy when you take these breaths in. And people think this is crazy stuff, but I urge people out there who think this is all sort of woo-woo, foo-foo stuff to actually just give it a try. It really does work, and it centers your system, particularly when you're chilled out. And you'll be amazed how often you've forgotten how to breathe, and we've got to teach people how to learn to breathe properly.
Yeah. No, I think that's very, very important. I also see here that what goes wrong if we don't breathe correctly?
Well, what happens if you don't breathe correctly, Zoo, is you begin to build up a lot of carbon dioxide in your system, because you're just doing the sort of rapid fire, you're just about taking enough oxygen in. And that's why every now and then the people who breathe through the upper part of their chest, they take these deep sighs. They sort of, because the brain is saying, you know what, Zoo, breathe, and it sends a message to the diaphragm to force the diaphragm down. So every now and then you feel this sort of need to gasp, or almost like you've got air hunger. It's actually now you literally run out of oxygen, and the brain is saying, you know what, there's not enough oxygen in my system, and it actually forces you subconsciously to lower your diaphragm. And what you do is this huge breath in, sort of almost like a sigh, and people say, I keep sighing all the time, and that probably got how to breathe, and you're usually very stressed. You can even tell in somebody's voice when somebody's chilled and relaxed. You can actually hear the way they are breathing is actually very chilled. When somebody's anxious and tight, and you can actually hear the breath is actually literally coming out like rapid fire. So just chill out and learn to breathe properly. You will really release some of those toxins. You'll reduce pain. You'll improve your digestion, and you'll explore some different states of consciousness, which are based at least in science, and it's all part of wellness. So learn about the breathwork technique. We're incorporating it as physicians, and there's actually plenty of pros. The only cons, because somebody's asking, are there any cons to breathwork? The biggest con is if you're new to breathwork, the most challenging techniques may lead to hyperventilating.
Yes.
So if you start getting dizzy, you get tingling in your arms and feet, you start getting muscle spasms. It means you're actually breathing. You're taking it a little bit.
Taking it a little too far.
Yes, exactly. Yes. So all things in moderation.
Definitely. Well, Dr. B, we've run out of time. Hey. these days. Yeah, but yes, I cannot wait to talk about next week. I see we're covering mental health. And I'm very, I'm looking forward to that conversation because I went through my own. So we can definitely touch on that and share.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Everybody got something in the cupboard.
Exactly. Thank you, Dr. B. Have a great
right,
Sunday.
thank you.
All right. And that's how we shut it down on the House of Zoo. I'm going to go because it's time for me to go. I'm making way for Nina Al Or as she shuts it down on Sugar Rush. And it's the House of Zoo. My name is Zuzu Mavuma. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday.
Health Check was proudly brought to you by First Capital Bank. Belief comes first.